The Chelsea Football Club have had a problem, especially during the second half of most matches they have played in this season. The problem that Chelsea have currently been facing and they have faced throughout the season is how they are able to control games. Controlling games is an aspect that elite teams are able to do, controlling the games without the ball and with the ball. The aspect of control can be exemplified and personified by Pep Guardiola, a manager who has formed his career based on how he can be able to control all phases of play, controlling the phase of play in possession and out of possession. So Pep Guardiola throughout his managerial career has able to build one of the best teams in world football, starting with his time at Barcelona, where he built an incredible press-resistant team with a midfield diamond of Messi, Iniesta, Sergio Busquets, and Xavi. At Bayern Munich, when Pep Guardiola faced an adversary against the quick counter-attack system employed in Germany, Guardiola had to make further changes in his tactical philosophy so that his teams can be able to control games much better, especially in Bayern Munich when he decided to create the inverted fullback position. In our video today, we're going to look at the evolution of Pep Guardiola and how teams such, especially Chelsea, can learn through Pep the way Arsenal have done through Mikel Arteta, following Pep's footsteps in how to control the game. Before we even start our tactical analysis, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. So the first aspect that you're going to look at when it comes to controlling the game is controlling the game in possession. Controlling the game in possession will be our first tactical analysis, and looking at the form which we call controlling the game in possession involves looking at the patterns of play from the build-up phase to the middle phase to the attacking phase, which is the final third phase of possession. And because of that, we are going to try and analyze the build-up phase. How does Pep Guardiola set his team during build-up? So the various ways in which Guardiola uses to build his team from the back. Remember, in Guardiola's system, you must always have a +1 during build-up, and that's why he has always believed, and recently he came out to say that the goalkeeper is the first attacker while the forward is the first defender. So looking at this build-up structure, when Manchester City were trying to build up play against West Ham, who had pushed aggressively high up the pitch to try and press them, you can see how Manchester City used their intricate one-touch passing football, as well as Pep Guardiola's most efficient philosophy of football that has seen him being so great. That is positional play. Positional play. Positional play is a footballing principle that involves whereby players are supposed to play in certain positions on the pitch so that they can create opportunities for others and also place themselves in better positions to effectively press and counter press. Now, the first third of the pitch is usually in the defensive third, then we have the middle third, and then we have the final third. So in our video today, we are going to try and look at how teams look to progress. They look to progress from the defensive third through the midfield third, all the way through to the final third. So Guardiola's system involves maybe dropping 2 center backs alongside the goalkeeper and the fullbacks starting quite wide. Now, in this build-up structure, what happens is that Guardiola, when especially facing a 2-man pressing system, when he includes his goalkeeper, he automatically has an extra man during the build-up strategy. And therefore, having 2 players committing to press the 2 center-backs and pushing your goalkeeper forward automatically gives you a 3v2. Now, dropping your holding midfielder in this position and allowing one player decides to pick him, then your fullbacks are free. Therefore, you are able to build through your fullback. But Van Gaal is usually not a fan of building through the fullback because the touchline can be used as an extra defender. So when teams decide to go man-to-man in the midfield region, there's always a spare man, especially down the fullback's channel. And therefore, teams might try to limit this possibility by covering both fullbacks and using a front to press and sometimes a 4-4-2 diamond to press. But again, you create gaps and spaces, especially in the higher up the pitch, where the defensive midfielder can be isolated in a 2v1 situations, or when Guardiola decides to drop one of his midfielders deep. And now he has two midfielders who are building up play, and both of them are able to receive the ball without pressure. Note that even having center backs, goalkeepers, and midfielders competent on the ball ensures you are strong. When he used Fabian Delph and Alexander Zinchenko during build-up, you would see a fullback inverting earlier on during the build-up phase, creating that 3-2v1 situation against a midfielder who wants to pick his deep line midfielder, either Fernandinho in Manchester City or Xabi Alonso at Bayern Munich. And this will enable Pep to have his team progress from the defensive side of the pitch. And when a winger will be drawn to cover the fullback, AG covers Zinchenko, then the goalkeeper will have a free pass to play in a midfielder who has drifted outside. Remember, the philosophy is positional play, and I have explained what positional play is, so go and check the video in the description area below so that you can understand it. It enables players to know where they are supposed to be on the pitch and how they are supposed to wait for the ball to get to them. Now, the second part of this Guardiola system is in the middle phase. And in the middle phase is where we've seen Guardiola dominate a lot of teams. And this is the middle third of the pitch, where you have his excellent players such as Rodri, Fernandinho, Sergio Busquets, Xabi Alonso playing and operating in this midfield region. Now, because teams are accustomed to Guardiola's teams being so efficient during build-up, what happens is that Guardiola now controls majority of the time in build-up, and teams decide to sit in a mid-block. So Guardiola likes his front three to play high with his wingers wide. Then he likes his two midfielders, attacking midfielders, rather than playing on the same line as the striker, to play slightly withdrawn so that they can attract the attention of the fullback, center back, and the defensive midfielders. So having these two players here is hell. And when teams decide to press his team in a 2v2 where he has two center back, he can either opt to drop his central defensive midfielder deeper, push the fullbacks wide, then drop the two center mids down, and have his wingers cutting in and occupying those half space regions, like what he did at Barcelona, where Busquets will drop deep, or when he did at Manchester City, when Fernandinho will drop in between the two center backs. And now you have your fullbacks generating width, your Dani Alves and Jordi Albas, while your Messis and Pedros and David Villas occupying the half space channels. But Guardiola prefers to have his wingers here so that he can have the 1v1 dribbling strength of his wingers, and having your creative midfielders in these pockets of space, the likes of David Silva, De Bruyne, and Ilkay Gundogan, generates you a better opportunity. Also, having your most technically able defensive midfielder in midfield is also a great asset. And therefore, for Guardiola to attain the 3v2 strength in the backline, what he does is that he tacks in one fullback in, and the one fullback inverts from the fullback position to the center back position, while the other inverts from the fullback position to a defensive midfielder position. That is what Zinchenko used to do, but recently Guardiola has improved this by having his two fullbacks staying wide and actually inverting his center back in field, and that is the task that John Stones does, because having your fullbacks in either side of a center back ensures that he is able to cover the wide areas quite effectively, especially giving his team that 5-man defensive block and that 5-man attacking block, having numerous triangles to pass and rotate possession during the build-up phase in the middle phase of the pitch. Then getting the ball into your two pivots sitting ahead of the three-man defense is having players who are capable of picking up players in between the lines, especially your De Bruyne's in these kinds of position, your Thomas Muller's and your Thiago Alcantara's in this position, so that you are able to slip in your forward like Lewandowski and Erling Haaland in between the lines. The same philosophy that Mikel Arteta employs at Arsenal, with slight variation, as Zinchenko is the one who's preferred to invert in the midfield region. Having also one of your technically best midfielders in midfield enables them to be able to pick runners behind the opposition defense line, and this generates Guardiola another key facet of his game, and that is exploiting the space behind the defense line. And this gives Guardiola his strength, that he is attaining maximum control in the final third. Remember, when you create that space between the goalkeeper and the defense line, and you have technically gifted midfielders, you are able to exploit those spaces, especially when you have dynamic wingers in the wide areas. So teams will try to drop deeper, increasing their distance from their defensive side of the final third to his goal side. Remember what Sean Dyche says: football is very easy. Protect your goalpost, limit the ball from going into your net and putting the ball into the opponent's net. So when you push the opponents deeper, you are able to squeeze them and suffocate them deeper, and therefore you are able to limit their threat in your own defensive third. And this now gives Manchester City the time to also push a high line and have players playing in cross proximity. Remember, Manchester City not only make the pitch wide, but they also make the pitch smaller, because now they're able to form these quick dynamic triangles, and this, complemented with the amount of rondos they do in training, ensures Pep Guardiola's team has enough numbers forward. So the center forward attacks the 6-yard space, the number 10 on the other half space attacks the cutback zone, and the winger attacks the far post. That's why Raheem Sterling made a career by scoring tap-ins in the far post area. So that is one of the ways in which Pep Guardiola's Manchester City usually is. So now, when teams decide to move into a 5-man backline and try to go man to man with Manchester City, it also plays to their strength, because they have the individual brilliance and players who are able to take on their man in a 1v1 situation. And having a center forward such as Erling Haaland or Sergio Aguero, who's able to occupy 2 center backs at a time, gives you numerical advantages, even if teams decide to go with a back 5. And this is aided by either limiting the number of forwards that a team can commit, allowing Pep Guardiola's team to commit further players forward, with a midfielder actually pushing forward to join the forward line. And this creates numerical advantages, forcing the team to even drop deeper and deeper into their own box. Having a center forward who understands his role enables the team even to be much more effective when he occupies 2 center backs and frees up the position for an attacker to occupy a fullback or a wingback in a 2v1 situation. So Guardiola has created this philosophy whereby he uses his intricate movement of his players to control their final third. His main aim is to put teams in these kinds of positions, since when he has teams pinned so deep, it is easier for him to destroy them, because now the teams lack momentum, especially to counter-attack, because they have to cover a lot of acres of space to even try to counter against his team. And his players are much close together, and since they practice a lot of rondo together, they are still able to immediately manipulate the spaces, use intelligence to rotate and move the ball throughout the team, so that the team is able to progress with the ball from the defensive half of the pitch to the attacking side of the pitch. Having wingers in the wide areas also enables him to have his wingers go 1v1 against the wing backs, creating space and opportunities for his teams to move the ball effectively. And that is how Pep Guardiola controls his team from the build-up phase to the middle phase to the final phase. And having his two centre-backs in this position regions again is the forward line well structured to deal with these kinds of circumstances. So Mauricio Pochettino, a manager who tries to employ the philosophy that he employed and succeeded with at Spurs close to 4 to 5 years ago, is finding it problematic since teams have now come up with ways to know how to deal with this Guardiola kind of problem that you see. So this is the first part. So if you've enjoyed, like, share and subscribe, and thanks for watching.